Hello there and welcome to the Secrets of Organ Playing podcast. I'm your host, Vidas Pinkevičius. Welcome to Secrets of Organ Playing podcast number 125. Today is Sunday, December 17, 2017. And today's guest is an Australian organist, James Flores. James began his musical career with piano lessons at the age of 4 under the guidance of his aunt Aurora Flores. Since then, he has been a regular participant at the Albury-Wodonga Eisteddfod and has won the age championships several times throughout his school years. He has also been junior champion of the Bernstein Piano Competition held at Shepparton and a finalist at the Bernstein Piano Competition held in Ringwood. James also studied the violin with the late Margaret Moore and participated in numerous border music camps and as a member of the Murray Conservatorium Orchestra. In 2011, James became interested in sacred music and the organ. He first began lessons on the organ under the instruction of Benedict Wilson and subsequently became sub-organist for the Schola Cantorum at St. Patrick's Church, Albury. James was actively involved in the Schola's liturgical activities, concerts and production of 3 CDs. From 2014, he continued his organ studies under the guidance of Dr Allan Beavis as organ scholar of the St. Matthew's Musical Association. In 2017, James placed second in the Ringwood Classical Organ Competition in Melbourne. James has participated in masterclasses with renowned organists such as Daniel Moult and Johann Vexo from Paris. James has successfully attained the licentiate diploma with honors from the St. Cecilia School of Music in organ and the associate diploma from the Australian Music Examination Board in organ and piano. He also holds a diploma in church music and the Archbishop's Award in church music. James's involvement in church music ministry spans over several parishes of the Albury, New South Wales area. James enjoys the demanding but rewarding challenges in contributing to the various liturgies of the Christian Church and his ongoing development as a recitalist and liturgical organist. He hopes that the organ will be a treasured instrument for many more generations to come. Apart from his musical endeavors, James completed an IT degree from the University of Wollongong and currently works as an enterprise systems engineer at Fairfax Media. He is also strongly interested and skilled in many web-related technologies. In fact, his website, jamesfloresorganist.com, was created by James along with the assistance of his talented wife, Lisa Flores, who is a graphic designer. In this conversation, James shares his insights about his recent 12 recitals in 12 months challenge. Let's go to the show. Thank you so much, James, for allowing me to connect with you. I'm so delighted to be able to talk about your fantastic challenge of 12 recitals in 12 months. That's a feat that not too many organists have been able to do. I have experience in this too. Some years ago, I did this similar challenge, and it wasn't easy. We will talk about that, of course, but it was worth it. So thank you so much. You're very generous and inspiring, James, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to your show.
Wonderful. I'm so delighted and eager to know about your beginnings as an organist. Do you remember the first time somebody introduced you to the pipe organ in Australia? Yeah. Could you share the story with us?
Yes, certainly. So I was raised a Catholic, and I go to church every Sundays, and I didn't really hear much organ repertoire. The only thing I knew about the organ was the hymns, and unfortunately they weren't too inspiring for me. And as I had quite a good piano background, I knew that something could be better. But there just happened to be one Sunday that I turned up, and there was this man who played, and he played some repertoire, and it was very pleasing, and it was different. It wasn't a hymn. It was actually proper literature, and I think I recall he was playing some Dandria, which was early French music.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it really captivated me because I'd never actually heard the organ played to that resource. I was used to hearing all this foundational work. Now that I know what it is, yes, I didn't realise that the organ was capable of those sounds, and that's what immediately grabbed me to it.
How old were you at that time?
I would have been already 22 or 23.
23. And you had a good piano background, right? Before that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what kind of organ was that? Was it a pipe organ or electronic?
Yes, it was a pipe organ.
Mm-hmm.
It's only probably 10 or 12 ranks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not too big, but it was enough to get me excited about it.
Wonderful. When we first hear organ sounds, sometimes it's not a real organ repertoire, sometimes hymns, sometimes beautifully played, sometimes not so beautifully, right? And you were lucky to hear some classical French music, which is obviously wonderful. And it adds variety and color to the liturgy if you use it properly. Dandrio, right, and Couperin and Clérambault, all these composers today are integral part of organ repertoire. But if you play it during the liturgy, it's also very, very exciting.
Yes, very exciting.
So, James, what happened next after that? How did you decide to become an organist after hearing those beautiful organ sounds?
After I heard that, I went up to the organist and I said I would like to have some lessons, and that's where it basically went from there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and he was pretty keen to teach me, and long story short, we had quite a good choir, and we had really nice sacred music, and he taught me a lot of that French classical type of music.
Mm-hmm. Was the organ suitable for that kind of music?
Now that I know, it wasn't really suitable. It was more of an English type of organ. But that was what my first teacher was interested in. He was into that type of music.
Mm-hmm. Majority of organs in Australia are of English style, right?
Yes, I would say so. Yes.
Mm-hmm. But of course, it's important to play all kinds of music.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so I was a bit late to learning other organ repertoire, so I had to go to another teacher to learn and discover different styles.
Mm-hmm. So then, of course, do you remember what was the first organ piece that you played, the very, very first composition?
Yes, so it would have been Clérambault's second suite.
Entire suite. Oh,
the entire suite. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Did you enjoy it, or was it challenging?
It was challenging. It was challenging to not play the organ pianistically, and not play the keys with such great force, because it doesn't do anything. And I really enjoyed that suite because every movement is self-contained and useful. It's not too long. It's not too short. There's a variety of uses for it. And of course, it's a great recital piece. if you play it in its entirety.
And if you put it in the right places of the liturgy, you could actually play entire cycle during one mass, right? Postlude, prelude, communion, offertory, and pieces in between.
Yes, correct, and that's will be exciting. Except the traditions here in Australia don't really fit in with that, even though I would like to. Some people don't even like having the postlude, which is a bit sad. But I try and play a postlude anyway, especially in a town where I live in.
After the liturgy, people usually chat with each other, right? And they don't need any music, right? Because music actually only distracts them from chatting.
Correct.
But then James comes in and plays with loud organ stops and overwhelms the chat.
Yes.
Right. So James, I'm very interested to know what developed later in your organ career. Did you decide to become organist sort of gradually, or it was a sudden revelation with you?
I guess it was, from that moment that I heard organ repertoire, it was almost like a revelation. And I'm the type of person where if I like something, I need to see it through, and I will work hard to learn as much as I can about it. So I stayed with that teacher for a few years, but I felt like I was missing out on other literature, and from listening to all your podcasts and YouTube videos, I realized I had to find another teacher, and I went to the best organ in my town, knocked on their doors at that church, and happened to be the organist there. And yes, basically I started getting lessons from the local Anglican church.
Wonderful. I actually decided to look up you on my email inbox because you are subscriber to our blog, right? organduo.lt. And the first message that I received from you was from early 2015. So basically almost 3 years now. And it was a comment on a post about creating a piece for communion for the baptism of Christ. I think I shared the score and recorded with video the process of my compositional method. And you wrote, "Hi Vidas, thanks for sharing this." And then you wanted to ask me about running Google AdSense, right? For extra revenue. Remember that?
Yes, I remember that. Yes,
that was an excellent idea.
Because aside from my love of the organ, and my day job is in IT with computers, so I thought I'd just give you a little suggestion. And
right.
But I think you already tried it at some stage.
I did, and because this revenue extra stream is not very, very great, it's just an additional a little bit of tickling of sense. But what it does is, of course, it distracts my visitors from my sites and directs them to further sites which are maybe unrelated. Right.
I think you have a much better business model now.
And then in the middle of 2016, you wrote an interesting comment to the podcast with John Higgins from Australia, your fellow countryman. remember that podcast about John Higgins? At the time, he was living in a small town of Whyalla,
Oh, yes.
right in Western Australia, I think, and he shared his insights and experiences about his organ playing, and because he also didn't have you know uh, organ teacher at the beginning. He studied it with me online, and then I decided to talk to him about all his experiences. And you wrote interesting comment. Do you want me to read it? Hello, Vidas. What course would you recommend to me for somebody that does not have any experience with improvisation? And then you write, I play for masses in 2 local Catholic parishes, and I want to be released from shackles of interlude music books. I find it extremely frustrating to fill in particular parts of the mass with repertoire as the time varies greatly. So improvisation was your interest at the time, right?
Yes, I do remember that, yes.
Wonderful. So, how did it all start? Your interest in improvisation and liturgical playing. Did you discover that playing segments of repertoire was not sufficient, and playing hymns, you wanted to express yourself more free, right?
Yes, well, I've heard filling in the gaps done. I've heard filling in the gaps that aren't done very well, in my opinion, i.e., playing the hymn again without anyone singing. It just didn't seem right to play. Just keep playing the hymn on. And probably at that time, I had a book of interludes in all the possible keys, and I would just continue on using that. And I still do that because repertoire, as you might know, music in the Catholic Church, they won't wait for you. That they don't sing all the verses of the hymns for a start. So if the priest is ready to continue on with the mass, he will cut you off if you're not finished. So I thought maybe improvisation would be a lot easier to release. I think improvisation would be easier because otherwise, if I'm playing from an interlude book, I have to somehow resolve and find a tonic and end the piece. Whereas I think improvisation could have helped me at the time.
Of course, it's really difficult sometimes to play an improvised piece, right? If you're not used to this, if you have no experience with music theory and harmony, and sometimes people are afraid to do this because they feel that they cannot really express musical ideas well enough. Maybe they understand how the piece is put together better. They have a good musical taste while playing musical repertoire, but their skill of creating music in the moment is not yet established, and that's where they get stuck, right? But it's important to continue, I think.
Yes.
Right. So James, I've read that you were invited to perform at St. Andrew's Cathedral in Sydney, right?
Yes.
How was it experience with this, or did you play in November, right?
November, yes. So it was about a month ago now. I think it was the 9th of November I played there.
So it is like 550 kilometers away from Albury, right?
Yes. A lot of my organ friends live in Sydney or in Melbourne, so there's not many people that I can really bounce ideas off. But that's obviously, that barrier is broken with the internet and emails and chat. That's not really an issue, except if you want to meet up and actually have a cup of coffee with someone.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's not that far, and it's in terms of getting a plane flight, it's not difficult to go over there.
Was this recital at St. Andrew's Cathedral a part of your 12 recital challenge or not?
Well, no, because I'd already planned the 12, and then the director of music there, Ross Cobb, asked me if I would like to play. So it actually was number 12, and I had another one at home, so I actually did 13 this year. But 12,
I see.
But 12 sounds better because 12 months and 12 organ recitals.
So in reality, it was more. So let's talk about all the beginnings of your challenge. How did you first came up with this idea with playing 12 recitals, different organ recitals, right? Different organ music every month.
So my teacher, he lives about an hour south of Sydney, and they have and he has quite a good lunchtime series, not just organ music. Could be piano, could be vocals, whatever, or strings. And a lot of the capital cities in Sydney and Melbourne, they have lunchtime organ recitals. So he thought it would be a good idea to start up a lunchtime recital series in Albury. But the problem is there's only a limited number of people who would be willing to perform in public. So I had to sign myself up for a lot of them. And it was scary because you can't really repeat the same repertoire because you've basically got the same audience coming back every couple of weeks.
Right. So you have loyal organ fans, and you have to provide constant different organ repertoire for them, right?
Yes. So, and that was this year, obviously. So I had been learning for maybe 3 or 4 years. So I had, a good amount of organ repertoire, but they weren't all the large scale pieces. So I had to continuously learn very quickly, and then quickly perform them and forget about them and learn something else. And I think looking back on it now, I probably put big pieces. I put too many of the larger pieces in the one recital. I didn't spread them out evenly. And towards the end, I felt like it was getting very difficult.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. My own experience, James, was I played, I think, 12 or even more recitals, maybe not in 1 year, but in 2 years, every month. But my idea was to play, repertoire from 7 centuries of organ music. 1 month would be from medieval ages, medieval organ repertoire, then Renaissance, then Baroque, different styles, different organ schools, then romantic music, different countries, right? And so month by month, I would advance into the present day. And at first, as you know, organ repertoire from the Middle Ages is not very terribly difficult, technically speaking, not too much of pedal work, so it went okay. And then later on, with the advance of the Baroque music, for me, it became increasingly difficult, even without pedals, like English repertoire from the 16th century, John Bull and all those virginalists who had great influence on the Dutch organist and master composer Jan Pieterszoon Sweelinck. They are extremely virtuosic compositions, these pieces. And 1 month of practice is not enough. I had to spread out in advance and play maybe 3 recital worth of music at the same time to be able to play fluently, when the time comes. Did you discover same things about yourself too?
Yes, I had to look at repertoire that wasn't difficult, but was pleasing to the average listener. But yeah, I learned that you really need to finish on something quite big in inverted commas. They want to feel good about hearing the last piece. So I mean, we call them the bookends here. Have a good opening piece and have a fantastic end piece, and just fill in something in between. I guess that's how, towards the end of my recitals, how I had to plan them that way.
Mm-hmm. When you play the entire cycle of 12 or 13 recitals, did you plan your music well ahead of time, like 12 in a row, or just on the monthly basis?
Maybe no, maybe 3 in advance.
3.
It just got very difficult, because you need to. Sometimes you got 2 pieces in this book and 3 pieces in another book. It just got chaotic. I had to make some copies and put them in individual folders, so kind of compartmentalized my life. Today I'm going to practice from this folder. Tomorrow I'll practice from the other folder, which is the only way I could maintain some sanity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you discover that your sight reading abilities improved over that time?
Yes, I suppose it did. I surprised myself that I could learn something quick. I probably could have learned it to a much better standard personally, but I really wanted to see this challenge through.
Mm-hmm. And would you repeat this challenge one more time, James?
I was actually, I was asked to continue on for next year, but no, I probably at most do half of what I did this year. It was just a bit too much, and I have a job and I have a family as well. It took time away from that.
Mm-hmm.
But next year I've been given the responsibility to find other performers and fill them in. So I've got a few friends that will do an organ recital, and some other musicians like piano and cello solo. So it's not just organ. Organ's obviously the main part of this recital series, but we're filling it in with other instruments just to provide some variety at least, because I wouldn't want to keep hearing myself every couple of weeks.
I first came across about idea of playing regular organ recitals, even daily recitals in Sweden. Back in 2000, my friend, the organist and expert in organ restoration, Joran Gran, took me to one of the churches in town. Was it? I don't remember the name because it was a long time ago, but the old organist there, he had a practice of playing daily organ recitals there himself.
Wow.
He is playing lunchtime recitals 5 times a week, from Monday until Friday. And people could come with their lunch bags and eat during that time. And he would, of course, play sometimes improvised music, sometimes organ repertoire, depending on the situation. But he was doing that for like 20 years non-stop. And
Wow.
it was like unbelievable.
So the organ recitals here in Albury, they're advertised as lunchtime recitals, and you can bring your lunch in and eat as well, because it's right in the heart of the city. So people on the lunch break can just pop in and pop out. It's casual, but there's still a sense of properness to the event. It's not blasé. It's formal, but you can eat your lunch. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's relaxing if you can eat your lunch there, but at the same time enjoy beautiful music. So one comment, James, about the challenges. In my experience, in the middle of this project, I discovered that it's extremely difficult to learn every month something new. And I started playing organ improvisation recitals during that time too. Every month, just to mix repertoire with improvisation. Out of necessity, basically. I couldn't keep up with the space, but the recitals were already scheduled in advance, like a month ahead of time or a year ahead of time. All 12 recitals planned. And I felt that to keep my sanity, I had to come up with some original ideas how to create music on the spot. And that's where my improvisation experience helped me a lot for improvising non-stop music for 60 minutes.
Wow.
What about you? How did you finish your project? I know it's easier to start than to finish, right?
I finished. So it was about a month ago now. It was the end of November, but it was kind of an awkward time. It wasn't quite the Christmas Advent season yet. But anyway, I did a selection of Advent and Christmas music because possibly I'll use them in services at Christmas. So I think sticking to a theme helped me with that last recital. And not all of my recitals had a theme. There were a good mix of everything. But I thought it was appropriate to have this Advent and Christmas theme.
Sometimes having a theme really helps, not only for yourself, but to your listeners. They know what to expect, right? They have this expectation when they come. It's like reading a book about one subject versus reading a book about all kinds of subjects. It's of course easier to focus on one subject.
Yes, correct. Right?
So, James, what did you learn from this challenge, from all those difficult things and exciting moments? What would you share with our listeners today?
Don't do it if you want to remain sane. but it is a worthwhile challenge because you're forced to learn a lot of repertoire and you'll use it for the rest of your life. And when you pick up those pieces again, they come back easier and you can continue to refine them. And when you have a goal, it's easier. I mean, you're compelled to work to reach that goal. Whereas if I didn't have a recital to work towards, what's the point of me really practicing? Who am I, aside from personal satisfaction of learning something, I want to be able to share with others what I've been practicing. It's really exciting music. So yes, if you want to learn lots of repertoire, well, sign yourself up for some organ recitals.
Yeah. I took your picture here. Maybe I will share it on social media, okay? It will be wonderful, I think, to see both of us on one screen, if you don't mind, of course. So, of course, it's really scary sometimes, this experience, right, of putting yourself out there, not only just once, but several times in a row, or even 12 months in a row, right? And of course, was your first recital in the series a success or not? Not necessarily the perfect recital, or did you have some critique for yourself?
I think every recital had its moments, but every recital also had its joys, and that's life. Yeah, life's not always happiness. You know, it's up and down, and you know, I guess another thing about being in the public all the time, you're subject to a lot of criticism, whether that be helpful or not, and it's something I've had to learn to deal with and manage, and what to take on and what to just ignore.
Because if you only pay attention to the critic, it's so frustrating. It could actually destroy your enthusiasm in the long run, right? And force you to quit your project in the mid project, right? In the middle.
Yeah, I have to admit it wasn't all smooth sailing. There were times where I questioned, do I really need to do this? You know, why bother with it? Nobody cares, or too many people don't like your interpretations, and that kind of stuff. But you know, I just wanted to finish it. I wanted to. It's a personal achievement.
Yeah. It's like a hero's journey. In every story, there is a point in adventure that a hero is tempted to quit. Not once, but maybe multiple times. So for you, James, when was the first idea of quitting? When did it happen? After the first recital, or after the fifth, or in the middle, or at the end, or multiple times?
I'd say towards the middle.
Middle, yeah.
Yes.
It's like swimming in a pool, right? In the pool, and where the waters get deep, right?
Yeah.
And
that was the deepest point.
Yeah, it's like swimming across the river, right? Or across the lake. You swim, you're kind of comfortable next to the shore in the shallow waters. But then after a few hundred yards, you start to feel it's tiring, right? Exhausting. And then the other shore, the other shore of the lake is not visible yet. And you reach the point of no return, right? Where you have to conserve your energy going back or going forward. It's like it's extremely risky, right? After the fifth recital, you decided to continue, but you had the internal struggle of quitting, right? Debating.
That's a good way to put it. Yes, it's a good analogy.
Mm-hmm. It's extremely tempting to quit in the middle of the project, of course, because what would happen if you quit? Nothing really happened, right? People wouldn't even notice, probably, right?
Yeah.
Some people don't even care. So actually, you are doing this only for yourself, for advancement of your own personal courage and skill. But somehow you decided to continue, right? What got you through, James?
I just don't like leaving things unfinished. I think it's part of my psyche. I just as you said, I'm halfway. It will take just as much effort and all that work building up your tower. and to just go back and destroy it. Why not just finish it and deal with it afterwards? And that's what I did. I just had to block out everything else and just work really hard.
They call this idea, this spot in the hero's journey, the dip, where you look back and want to, quit your adventure, the dip. And there is an excellent short little book called The Dip by Seth Godin, in which he explains this idea so that a lot of people quit in the beginning or in the middle. And of course, if you run a marathon, right, like 42 point something kilometers in a row, you're tired in the beginning, in the middle, but nobody really quits at the end, right? Everybody quits in the beginning or in the middle. But towards the end, it gets kind of the second life, second breathing, and easier, right? Because the other side is visible. Was it for you too?
Yes, you could see that light. You just had to keep going, and eventually you'd get there.
Did you, James, had any other points in your journey when you were tempted to stop and quit this project, or just once?
No, I think it was just that one point around about the middle of it all.
It's kind of important to have this dip, because if you don't feel any frustration, if you are not challenged enough, then actually this project is not important at all, right? Nobody is tempted to quit eating popcorn during movie, right? It's so easy, right? Everybody is eating popcorn, and nobody says, "Oh no, I can't continue eating my popcorn. I have to quit." Nobody says that. Because it doesn't matter, right? If you finish or you don't. But your project, like 12 recitals in 12 months, is extremely risky, right? If you stop, you could blame yourself for not finishing for the rest of your life, maybe, right? You would mark yourself as a quitter, right? Actually, there is a saying that the hero never quits, which is not true. Which is actually not true, because the heroes quit all the time, but different things that not relate to the project, things that don't matter. That's why you have the energy to continue on the main project, because you quit so many other temptations, right?
Correct.
So what, James, did you had to quit during this time, or sacrifice, right? Sacrifice in order to continue your adventure in this field?
I guess a little bit of sleep, a little, I guess, downtime and relaxation time. Socializing with friends. I must admit, I didn't have much time to be social, or even just sit on the couch and watch some TV. I had a job to do, and I had very limited time, so something had to be pushed out of the way. So I guess that was, unfortunately, the least of my priorities. And I am sorry for it. And as with everything, we just have to sacrifice some things for a while, and I'll pick them up again later.
In order to win something, you have to sacrifice something, right?
That's correct.
And what did you win, James?
I won my 12 recitals thing. It's definitely a big relief after finishing that last one. But as with every win, it doesn't last forever, and you have to jump on the next train and onto the next journey. And that's what life is about, catching the next train to something else. I find it hard to sit still and do nothing. I need to be motivated and to have a goal.
So, James, I think the most dangerous part is being in between of projects, right? Because you're then tempted not to do anything, to relax and have a downtime, because you sacrificed so much in the past, and you don't want to be so strenuously exhausted in the future. So, in between of projects, is very tempting to not do anything. But what I've heard people do is to line up maybe 5 recitals in a row. It doesn't have to be every month, but maybe when somebody approaches you and says, "Hey, James, what are you playing next?" you would know what to answer, right? The 5 recitals planned ahead of time, maybe during the next year or two, but your mind is already focused and moving towards your goal is easier. Agree?
I agree. You have to. I mean, even for next year, my recitals planned, I'm just thinking of, what repertoire can I learn? What do I think is achievable? So, in between this period of not performing now, I'm still thinking about what's next and what do I have to do.
Right. So, James, would you recommend people on taking on this challenge themselves, like repeating your journey, playing 12 recitals in 1 year, or not?
Oh yes, I think you should at least do it once in your lifetime. Yes, it is achievable. I'm very confident that a lot of my friends can do it. If I can do it, surely someone else can do it.
And of course, it's kind of similar to playing, let's say, marathon recitals of entire works of Bach or Vierne symphonies or Messiaen organ cycles, sometimes from memory, sometimes not. But organists from all over the world take up this challenge and do this. I think with a big satisfaction, right?
I do.
Right. So, James, going back now at the beginning of your project, if somebody else would want to follow your footsteps and plan 12 recitals in 12 months, what would be the number one step for them to do?
Write out all the repertoire that you've played in the past, just like a really big jigsaw puzzle. And then you can basically cut up the pieces and, make little boxes and compartmentalize each recital. I just naturally did that. I think that was the only way I could see it holistically, was to, brain dump everything that I've played in the past, and that gave me a good starting point. Spread it out evenly.
Because you don't have to learn everything new, right? You can repeat from the past.
Yes.
It saves time and energy and gives you more strength for other new things to learn. Wonderful. I'm so delighted we had this conversation, James. I think people all over the world will be inspired, not necessarily to play 12 recitals in 12 months like you did, but maybe on a shorter scale, right? On something on a smaller scale would work too. Let's say a beginner organist who knows just, let's say, one prelude, right? Who can play it well enough for public, would go to a local church, get to know the local organist and say, can I play this postlude or prelude next month, right? And commit to learning 12 pieces a year, like every month, and playing them in this church after a Sunday service, right? Like a postlude or before, like a prelude. Would that be possible too, right?
It's possible, yes, definitely.
Mm-hmm. On a smaller scale, not necessarily entire recital, but just one piece.
One piece. And then at the end of that year, you'll have 12 pieces.
And which is entire length of the recital.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So it's not something that happens overnight, unfortunately. It takes time. But if you've been playing for a while, you'll be surprised how many pieces you've actually played over the Sundays or the monthly Sundays, or however often you play in a church. If you do play in a church, I'm very certain you'll be able to create a recital out of all those pieces that you played.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful ideas, James. Today, I think people try out new things regularly, and I think from this conversation they will take what's best for them, either short scale challenge like playing one piece a month, or maybe on a larger scale like you did, if they are advanced enough in the organ playing journey, 12 recitals in 12 months, just once in a lifetime, right? It's possible and it's doable, and sometimes even, who knows, maybe they will repeat it in the future, right? Like maybe you will.
Yes, I might repeat it in the future because I would have forgotten that I've done it.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much, James. It's so delightful to talk to you. And before we end this conversation, what would be the best place for our listeners to connect with you online?
Probably on Facebook, my Facebook page, and you can message me through there or look through my posts, and from there you'll be able to find my website, which has more information about what I've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I do keep my Facebook page up to date, and that's just searching James Flores, organist.
Right. And what about your website address? Is it your name?
Yeah, jamesfloresorganist.com.
Excellent. I will put this link into the description of this conversation so that people could click and visit you online, say hello, support you, and motivate to create even further and share your art with the world.
Thank you.
Thank you. You are so inspiring person, and I'm glad we are living at the same time.
Me too.
If you liked this conversation, I encourage you to visit my blog Secrets of Organ Playing at organduo.lt, where you will find lots of insights, practical advice, and training for every area of organ playing. You can subscribe to this blog for free to get your daily dose of inspiration and to be the first to know when any of my future podcasts roll out. I hope to help you reach your dreams in organ playing. I'm Vidas Pinkevičius. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you online really soon.